difficulties and danger. In all the preparations for their botanical expedition, her grandfather had read tale after tale of death and injury that befell so many who attempted the overland crossing. He cautioned her regarding the perils and warned her against going. Nevertheless, she hadn't expected to face death after only 10 days on the Santa Fe Trail. The horse stumbled on loose stones and thick silt. The movement jarred Linnea, tilting her to one side. Her rescuer was boxing her in, keeping her from sliding off. Even so, she grasped his arm. At the same time, the rider patted his horse's mane and neck, as though to encourage it. The horse steadied itself and continued plodding uphill. The sloping dirt embankment gave way to the rolling blue-stem hills with cordgrass in the low wet areas, comprised of buttonbush, eastern grammagrass, and common ironweed. Bur oak, black walnut, hackberry, green ash, and cottonwood trees converged along the banks, providing shade to groups of travelers who'd already made the crossing. "Flynn!" called a girl, hopping up and down at the top of the embankment under the shady branches of a sprawling cottonwood thick with new foliage. "Howdy doody! You did it! You saved her!" A gangly young man of about 16 years slid down the dirt and gravel toward them. He reached for the horse's muzzle. "Mighty fine job, Flynn. Couldn't have done much better myself." The man behind Linnea, apparently named Flynn, gave a final nudge of his heels to the horse's flanks. The creature crested the bank, revealing the river bottoms where dozens upon dozens of cattle grazed on the grammagrass, some in the shade of the deciduous hardwoods, others sunning themselves and swishing their tails against the flies. 2 other young men stood on the bank watching, having abandoned their nearby blazing campfire and an iron skillet still sizzling with frying fish. "You sure got in there fast, Flynn." The girl bounded toward them, her dark hair hanging in unruly waves about her dirt-smudged face, her brown eyes shining with admiration. Although slender, her body showed the first signs of developing into a woman, especially because her calico dress was much too tight and short, as if she'd long outgrown it. If Linnea had to take a guess, she'd put the girl at 12 or 13 years old. "Grab a blanket to warm her," Flynn said to the girl. She shifted her attention, staring openly at Linnea. Only as Linnea tried to formulate a smile did she realize how badly her teeth were chattering and her body shaking. After the initial shock of falling into the river, she'd been so focused on surviving that she hadn't paid attention to how cold she was. But now she was aware of the numbness of her fingers and toes. Her clothing stuck to her body like an icy layer of morning frost. Frigid water ran down her arms and legs. "Go on, Ivy," the rider spoke again, this time more sharply. "And Dylan, you stoked the fire." The girl gave a quick nod, then scampered away, and the young man hurried off to do Flynn's bidding as well. Were they his children? If so, where was his wife? Linnea could see no evidence of other women around his camp. "Hang on." The man's voice rumbled near her ear. He shifted, and the warm pressure of his body and arms moved away from her, leaving her exposed to the mid-morning air. It had been warm enough when they'd started out at dawn. It had been warm enough when she'd explored the marshland around a pond they'd passed, and it had been plenty warm when they'd been in the long line of wagons waiting to make the river crossing. But at present, a chill settled deep inside, and she hugged herself for warmth. Flynn slid from the horse. Once standing, he peered up at her, giving her a glimpse of his face for the first time. Though he wore the brim of his felt hat low, there was no hiding the handsome features. Lean cheeks tapering into a muscular jaw, a firm mouth, and a well-defined chin. A layer of dark facial scruff lent him a shadowed, almost wounded appeal. If that wasn't enough, his eyes were a bright green blue, the color of bluegrass.